Hi everyone, my name is Gagan. I'm a data engineer, and today we'll do some basic SQL queries using a library called Pandas SQL. So we'll be using Pandas library to just do some basic manipulation, check some data, and then we'll analyze the data using SQL. So the best way to get some hands-on practice, whether you're starting out or you already have some experience, is to do as much or as many projects as possible. So today we look at this data set, which is an IPL auction data set that you can find on Kaggle. Let me show you. IPL auction 2022. So if you're not familiar with IPL, it is a cricket tournament, and the tournament began a month ago. But before this tournament, there was an auction. So auction is for the players. So which players ends up in which team. So we'll be just looking at that data and just solving some five or six simple questions. So you can, if you want to use it in your Jupyter notebook, in your local laptop, in your local machine, feel free to do so. But I will be using Google Colab, and I will share this. I will share this on my GitHub. You can take a look. So we'll do some basic steps, and the basic few steps are first we'll be installing the libraries, download the dataset, explore the dataset, which is just basic like the shape of the dataset, how many columns does it have, what kind of data types does the column contain, and after that, it's good to come up with a bunch of questions when you look at data. And then you try and answer them step by step. Usually, you start small, and then on top of that, you can build something more complex. So, without wasting further time, let's begin. So, first thing I need is I will be installing the libraries. So, Pandas is already installed in Google Colab, so I don't need to do it. But if you're doing this on your Jupyter notebook, install Pandas. If you have it, well and good. But I'm going to install Pandas SQL. So it's quite simple. A pip install Panda SQL library, and it's going to start installing. Perfect. It's done. And now it's time to import libraries. You will still need to import pandas, and general convention is you import it as PD. PD is just like a short form, so you will be using, instead of typing pandas, you will be typing PD wherever you need to use it. And the next one I'm going to import is from Panda SQL. I will import SQL data frame, which is SQL DF. Yep. You can also use these libraries called DuckDB and Foo. There's an article below. The first one is actually in this article, Panda SQL, which we're using. So if you want to try out DuckDB and Foo, feel free to do so. But let's stick to Panda SQL for the day. And the next step is downloading dataset. Again, if you're downloading dataset directly from Kaggle, you might need to import it into Google Colab or your machine and then directly do it. But I've already transferred the data in my Git repository, so you just run this query and it's going to download the data automatically. And once you download Git repository, you can check on the left. The data will show up here. It's already here, so you don't need to, do anything special. Only thing I'm going to do is here's the data set. Just copy the path and open the data frame. And how you do it is I'm gonna use df as my variable, and the convention is read CV. Within it, you use your URL, and that is it. And using header command, I can check the first 5 rows. Looks good. So we have these columns called player, base price, type, cost in crores, which is Indian rupees, and there's cost in US dollars. Multiplier is 1,000. The last year's team they were in, and the current team, the players went to after the auction. One thing that you see in this data frame is this unnamed column which is indexed. So I actually don't want in my data frame to see, so I'm just going to remove it. And the way you do it is you index by zeroth element, and zeroth element is it's starting from 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I set my index as 0, you will not be seeing it anymore. And perfect, looks good. Now the second part of this, or the second phase, is just basic data exploration. And how you do it is, let me actually type. So I'm just going to check the shape of the data, and yeah, you don't need to type anything, I remember. And once you type data frame shape, you can see there's 633 rows and 7 columns. You can check the columns here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the number of rows is 633. But right now we're only seeing the top 5. So how do you want to do, like, if you want to segregate them? If you choose zeroth element, which is in this tuple, you can see number of rows, and if you choose first column, you can see number of columns. So maybe I just print this out, and it'll be better. Total number of rows. I'm going to separate it, df dot shape, and I choose zeroth element, and this will print out total number of rows. And I'm going to copy paste this, and here I'm going to replace it with columns and change it to element first. And now you see total number of rows is 63, 6, and total number of columns 7. It's usually good to know how, like, what kind of data you're dealing with, like the size of the data you're dealing with. Very helpful. And the next is I want to check the data type. So for that, you type d types, and it will show you. So player is object, basically string. Base price is also string. Type is also string. Cost in Indian rupees is float, and then again 2 other objects. At the moment, we don't need to make any changes, but occasionally, for example, this cost in Indian rupees, this column could be also object type. In that case, you do some transformations, but at the moment, it's not required. Other things you want to see is so these are players. So each column will actually, sorry, each row in this player column will have a unique player. But on the other hand, there's columns like base price and type, and you want to see how many different or unique values does it contain. And for that, you can simply use unique. And so let me do it. So this is how you actually select a column in Pandas. So if I do this, I'm selecting the whole column. And then you can do other things with it. So I want to check unique elements. So if I type unique, it's going to show me all the unique values. So yeah, you can see it has a draft pick, values of 2 crores, 40 lakh, and then different values for different players. Retained means the player was retained by their team in the auction. And next is distribution of values. So how many of these values are actually there? By what I mean is, let me go in the base price again. And if I check value counts, you can see the distribution. So most of the players were priced at 20 lakh, and then 104 players were 50 lakh, and then you can see the value going up and up for different players. It's not in a good order, but still you get an idea. What was the base price for many players, or the number of players. Next, we want to do something similar for this column type, just to get an idea of what kind of different types are there. If you know cricket, you know it's not more than 4, but let's just make sure we're on the right place. So unique, and you have bowlers, all-rounders, batters, and wicket keeper. That's it. Again, we can see the distribution quite similarly how we did for base price. Let me type and there you go. We have 242 all-rounders, 215 bowlers, and 112 batters. If you want to see the distribution, you can type normalize and set it to true. By default, it's set to false. So if you set it to true, now you can see we have 38% all-rounders, almost 33.9, basically 34% bowlers, 17% batsmen, and 10% wicket keeper. So interesting. So now when you look at the data, these are some of the simple questions that I've come up with that we will try to actually answer using SQL. So I want to know who are the top three batsmen who got paid the most, the top five bowlers who got paid the most, highest paid all-rounders, and average pay for batsman, bowler, all-rounder, and wicketkeeper, and list of retained players with salary. So these are the five questions we'd like to answer. So a good a good way to understand is your manager reached out to you or your team owner reached out to you after the auction is done, and they ask you these questions. Hey, can you tell me which batsman got paid the most or which bowlers got paid the most, and what's the average pay? So for example, they ask you these questions and you try and answer them. So let's see how we're going to answer them. So the next is data transformation phase. So transformation is basically any manipulations would you like to do to the data or the data frame that you see. So I don't see many transformations need to be done. Only thing I want to do is actually change the names of the column. So um, here is base price type, cost. It's too long, a lot of spaces, which can provide a lot of error. So what I will do is make sure they're not capitalized, and with wherever there's spaces, I'm gonna add some underscore. It's much more convenient, especially when you're doing using SQL. So how you rename a column is, let's start. So I select my data frame and then rename. And what you do is you type you want to rename the columns, and the syntax is you add curly bracket. You're selecting old name, and then after colon you're replacing it with new. So this is the syntax, and if you have more than one, then you just add comma, and you add comma here, and then you keep adding one more and one more. So let's put that into practice. So old name, I want to replace player with player. I'm gonna enter it just to make it look prettier. There's column name base price, which I will replace with base underscore price, and then I'm gonna select the next column, which is type, and make it simpler, type. And then next up is cost in Indian rupees. Let me just copy it here. And I will name it symbol, something simple. Next, cost in USD. Let's do this. You can also just select the names of the column by typing df.columns, and there you go, get the name. So you can also copy paste from here. cost USD, and the next one I think I'll change would be 2021 squad to 2021 team. I think that will be simple. 2021 team, and the last one is team, and I will change it to 2022 team. So here I've set up rename the columns, and you want to replace this into a different data frame. So I'm going to set a different variable this time, so I don't want to overwrite my first data frame. So I'm going to choose a different variable called df2. So this is my new data frame, and once I replace it, there's a problem here. What's missing? Cost in crores. Invalid syntax. Let me check again. Okay. Colon, cost in rupees. Oh, sorry. I put comma here. These are little things you sometimes miss or don't notice. So it's fine now, and I'm gonna add. You can actually take a look at data frame 2, how it looks different from first one. So now you see I have different. I've renamed my columns, much more convenient for me, and we can start querying this soon. And next I want to do is actually want to drop the USD column because I'm not going to be using it. So that I will actually store again in a new data frame. So how you do it is you do drop, and then you select the name of the column. The name of the column was cost USD. On the first axis is columns, and this should work to drop the column. So we can check number 3, and great. So now we have a data frame ready. We can start doing the transformations. Just trying answering the questions that we want to answer. So first thing you want to set up is MySQL using this. So this is hard to explain, but it's more of a convention that is set by the library. And if you take a look at this article up there, Pandas SQL. So you set up MySQL as in global variables, and after that you can just start querying in MySQL. So let's just begin querying because this will be much more fun part of this exercise. So inside is now I can type actually my SQL queries. So let's just take a look at complete data, which select star from data frame 3. Let's see how the data looks like. Okay, one more column missing, and it should be fine. So now we can actually start manipulating using SQL. So first question we want to answer is top 3 batsmen who got paid the most. So what I want for that is name of the player, their cost in Indian rupees from data frame 3, where type equals to batter. Sorry. Yes, I'm here. Jesus. Type equals to batter, and then order by column number 2, and the column number 2 will be the price column, and in a descending order and we only want to see first three top values. So let's see. And there you go. Now you can see these are the top three batsmen who got paid the most. Rohit Sharma, Kohli, Williams, and good money for all of them. Um, so we've actually essentially answered first question. Name three batsmen who got paid the most. So this is it. And second one, you can actually try it on your own, but we are doing something similar. So first, I'm gonna set up uh, MySQL. Actually, let me copy paste these in all of them. Okay, so we're doing similar. Just select player, and I want to know the price, Indian rupees, from data frame 3, where type equals to bowler, and order by 2 in descending order, and limit by 5. There you go. Oh, Jesus. Rashid Khan, he deserves it, definitely deserves it. Deepak Chahar injured the whole season. Jasprit Bumrah, that's always a good buy, but he was retained. Lockie Ferguson, excellent bowler. Next, I think the next year Umran Malik would be definitely one of the top bowlers if you know anything about cricket. Um, this I'm gonna leave alone. I mean, not leaving alone, but this is for something for you to practice, and hopefully it should be easy to answer. So let's look at question number three, which is top five lowest paid wicket keeper. So let me try and answer this question, and I will show you what problem you might face here. So again, simple. I select my player, cost in Indian rupees from DF3, where type equals to, uh, as far as I remember, everything was like this, wicket keeper, and I mean, I don't need to set order, but I can still set order by 2, limit 5, and you will see the problem here. So now you see all the null values. So the values which have no null values basically has no values inside, they're all also showing up. So they're not showing the prices. So for that, I can set another statement here in the where statement clause that I want my cost in Indian rupees is not null, and this will get rid of all the null values. So these are the cheapest wicket keepers that were bought by team. Jitesh Sharma. If you want to take a look at their team, hopefully it should work. Yeah, there's some problem with this library. Otherwise, it should work. Something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a problem with this library, but otherwise, this should also show up the team. But so far, it's not important. You can take a look at these players. The cheapest, actually, Jitesh Sharma. He's playing for Punjab. He's a really good player. Really good buy. And question number four, what's the average pay for batsman, bowler, all rounder? Let's see. For this, we'll need to use a group by statement. So first thing we need is we select type and cost in Indian rupees from data frame 3. Or if you see me capitalizing sometimes not capitalizing, it doesn't make a difference. If you're using SQL, just use what you're comfy with. And I'm gonna group by on first column and order by second column in descending order. Let's see what we get. Okay, So we see the same problem again. We need to get rid of all the null values. Select type from order by to descending. Yeah, so I basically stopped, forgot to add average function. And there you go. We have the average price for this for wicket keepers. So on average, a wicket keeper is going for five something, 50 lakh, and batters are going for this price, and bowlers are going for this price. Expensive. What I also want to do is it's too many values after decimal points, so I'm just going to use a round function and to the second decimal value should be fine. And there you go. Let's actually change the name of this column also because it looks ugly. And you can also add like use an alias like as now this will be the new name of the column, or you can simply type the new name of the column, and it's either way it's fine. So now the new name is average price. So last question it is. Hopefully not too tricky. And again, we want to find out the list of retained players. Retained players can be found in the base price column. So base price, we already saw looking at this unique values that retained is here in base price. So let's try and answer it. Select player, cost Indian rupees from data frame 3, where base price equal to retained and order by to descend, and I only want to see my first 5 rows. Let me fix this. And there you go. So these are the top 5 players which were retained by their teams. Ravindra Jadeja, Rishabh Pant, Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli, Sanju Samson, who is captain of Rajasthan Royals. So hopefully you enjoyed it. In the next part, we will try and solve them using PySpark. Same questions. We'll try and answer the same questions using PySpark. So in the PySpark, we'll also use the how to do it using SQL in PySpark as well as PySpark's syntax. So thank you and have a nice day.